The backlog in pending divorce cases in the West Australian Family Court has expanded to such an extent that some couples might wait up to 3 years for a trial date. The delay has prompted Legal Aid WA to put together a series of videos about separation and divorce in an attempt to show warring couples alternative pathways to resolution before they opt to fight it out in the courts. Here's Mark Bennett.
There's space at your dad's. I'm sure he won't mind if you stay there till you find your feet.
I'm 35 years old and I have to move back in with me dad.
Well, I'd be fine to find somewhere, but it's not about me. It's about the kids.
In a first for Legal Aid in Western Australia, a video aimed at reaching families in conflict.
And we're here to introduce When Separating.
We speak on behalf of tens of thousands of kids across Australia with separated families.
Produced for less than $250,000, the series of 7 stories aims to address issues facing families going through separation.
It is really the video a story of hope in lots of ways too, because it does give people a great deal of option in terms of which way they go.
Colleen Brown is behind Legal Aid's push to reach an audience that is looking for alternatives to going to court to resolve conflict. Families that can't afford to pour money into lengthy litigation and wait up to 3 years to have their case heard in the WA Family Court.
There's a very limited group that's able to access legal aid, and then there's obviously the group that can afford the top-end lawyers, but there's a huge group of people in the middle that are, bouncing around, trying to sort out their own problems, can't get legal aid, can't really afford a lawyer, and this group, we think, will benefit enormously from this video.
With the YouTube generation in mind, Legal Aid chose a dramatised and documentary video format instead of producing print material.
We've created our own YouTube channel. We've also got a specific built website that all of these films are housed on. The films are quite well contained on their own, but then when you go to the website and look at the info and links, you can have a range of information and options.
I caught up with Kylie yesterday. She said the kids would end up living with me because I'm their mum. But Marissa said they'd end up spending half their time with me and half with Chris. I don't know who's right.
Oh, Shell, I think your friends are lovely. I wouldn't listen to everything they say. You really need to talk to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about.
Financed by a range of government, legal and family help agencies, the videos were co-produced in-house with a small Perth production crew.
I think a big part of it was, which we did with Legal Aid, was finding characters that resonated with people.
Dean Butler co-wrote, directed and acted in the videos.
Dylan, you all right, mate? You don't have to talk if you don't want to.
It's Mum and Dad. They've broken up. I think Dad's going to move out.
Probably the key message of the whole production is that parents need to, take a step back and just really focus on the children, because they're probably, I know the parents are going through a rough time, but the kids are going through a very rough time.
What's your problem, Ben?
While the video is helping to sort out the domestic issues facing families, it's also trying to address a larger problem in the courts.
I think it's a crisis.
Senior counsel Peter Dowding believes the family court, while helping resolve disputes between fighting couples, is itself caught in the crossfire between warring governments.
In Western Australia, we've got a government here that blames the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth blames the West Australian government for the under-resourcing.
WA was the only state to set up a separate state court in the 1970s, which allowed WA to bring disputes between same-sex couples and de facto partners into the family court, 7 years before anywhere else in the country. Family law practitioners say the system is a good structure and shouldn't be abandoned, but it needs more staff.
No one's really listening to what the Chief Judge of the Family Court here is saying. No one's listening to what the Chief Justice of the Family Court of Australia is saying, and that is, we need the resources to deal with these problems.
In addition, the family law legislation has grown in complexity.
We've got a system which has grown since 1975, when it was meant to be simple and easy and quick and fair and just and equitable access to resolving domestic disputes, to a system that's absolutely overloaded with legislation.
The Chief Judge of the Family Court of WA, Justice Stephen Thackeray, is also on the record saying the court is overloaded with work.
The single greatest factor is the de facto property jurisdiction. We've been dealing with financial disputes between de facto couples since 2002. When that new jurisdiction was given to us, we weren't given additional judicial officers to deal with it. The cumulative effect of this can be seen in the increasing delays over recent years.
The family courts throughout the country are spectacularly under-resourced.
Rick O'Brien is the Deputy Chair of the Australian Family Law Council.
Families right around the country are having to wait unacceptable lengths of time to have their cases dealt with. And in a stressful family situation, that's obviously a horrible thing for people to face. It's bad for families, it's bad for their children.
The state and federal governments recently provided some relief by providing extra staff to the WA court, but lawyers and advocates remain concerned for the future.
The court is not even keeping its head above water at the moment. It's received some extra temporary resources, but they are only slowing the rate at which the court's going backwards. They're not improving the situation. So without more resources, the situation's just going to get worse.
And one of the things that came up really strongly was a focus on relationships as opposed to processes.
Yes.
Meantime, the legal aid team, encouraged by the public response to the video, is planning another series aimed at Indigenous families.
They're using some of those hooks in there for a family that is, maybe a little bit urban.
But after nearly 50 years of practising family law, Peter Dowding has a simple message for couples heading down the path to the family court.
Yes, don't isn't a bad word. And if you are going to separate, try and resolve your issue. Bear in mind that people with modest property are often spending more than 10% of their family wealth on court proceedings, and that's really absurd.